All right, good evening, my Ripon residents. I am your host, Raj Singh, from Six of Tracy, Six of Central Valley platform. We are here with our show, Straight Talk with the council member candidates. And today we're doing for City of Ripon's candidates running for their city as a council member. And I have my co-host, Gritej Fall with me, and we have such a great personality joining us from City of Ripon, Mr. Suki Sandhu, and I would like him to introduce himself to our audience and to all the viewers that are watching us.
Hello, Six of Ripon and the Central Valley Six as well. As Raj mentioned, my name is Suki Sandhu. Been living in Ripon since 2011. Before that, I was a resident of Modesto. I grew up here in the valley. Um, I am a business owner. Heavily involved in convenience store industry, 7-Eleven franchisee. My family, we own businesses, gas station, liquor stores, and as I mentioned, a 7-Eleven up and down the valley in 3 different counties, Merced, San Joaquin, and Stanislaus County. I am also a local Central Valley chapter president of association called APCA, American Petroleum and Convenience Store Association, which represent about 200 plus stores here in the valley, and also vice president of the 7-Eleven's Owners Association. That is, I'm a husband, father, 3 children. That's my mom and dad. My brothers are here in the valley, so we've been here about 40 years in the United States.
Thank you, Suki, for joining us. And just to clarify, it looks like maybe we're the Suki's the candidate for Ripon. No, he's our host to introduce and interview and to get to know the candidate who's running for as a city council seat. So let's bring our guest to our show, and we'll have Gurtej introduce her.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Rajiv. Thank you, Suki, for joining us. So today we have a very charismatic candidate for Ripon Council, Tamra Spade. So we all know her. So she's very much involved in the community as well as in the business aspect in the city of Ripon as well as in San Joaquin County. So Tamara Spade, so she is living since long in Ripon, very much involved in the business aspect. So was Chamber CEO for the Ripon for almost 5 years. So she's very much involved with the studies as well as the educational aspect. So has her master's in business administration and many certifications in nonprofit as well as business development. So now I'll request Tamara to please share some more about her.
Well, first, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I really appreciate the opportunity. I am running for the Ripon City Council. I have been in Ripon for about 8 years, and I did work at the Ripon Chamber for almost 6 years. And prior to that, I actually worked for a state senator, so I know a little bit about politics, and I'm hoping to be elected for the City Council. So with that said, a little bit about me. You kind of mentioned my education background. I am actually currently working on a doctorate in organizational leadership, and I'm hoping to finish that in the next year. But I do have a California certification in economic development. So obviously business and economic development are very important to me. A few of my platforms that I'm working on, and I almost hate to say it because I feel like everybody's running on the same platform here in Ripon. But emergencies or public safety is also very important. My son is a police officer in Turlock, and he's been doing that for a few years. And I just feel that right now, the way the world is going and things are going, that we need to make sure that our officers are safe and that they are able to protect us and with staffing and the tools that they need. So besides the police officers, I've been on the fire board in Ripon, and for 2 terms. I'm actually the first woman to ever serve on the Ripon Consolidated Fire Board in 100 years. So they're getting ready to celebrate 100 years. But I learned a lot on there too. And we have 3 fire stations in Ripon right now, and really only only one of them are staffed. So I think it's important that the Ripon Fire Department and the city collaborate and communicate with each other and somehow work together to get that Station 3 filled and staffed. I think that's very important. Ripon is very lucky that we have an ambulance service, and we don't want that to go away. And so somehow we need to find funding, and if we need to, you know, do a public safety tax or something, you know, I'm not all about taxing, obviously, but we need to figure out a way to make sure that station gets staffed. The other thing that's very important to me is our infrastructure and our roads here in Ripon. Or I shouldn't say we, but the city is getting ready to do a project over on Stockton, and they're putting in pavers. And, you know, I think pavers are great. They last longer, but they're very expensive to do. It's almost 50% more than doing asphalt. So, you know, we have other roads in the city besides Stockton that are also very important. And we have a freeway that kind of separates our little city. And, you know, it's interesting because on one side we have the downtown, and on the other side we have housing developments. And, you know, so we need to look at the whole city and look at our streets and our structures and make sure that they are good. There's Miljo Avenue that is having major issues, and we need to do something about that. And putting in pavers, when you pull them up, they're harder to replace. They don't look aesthetically as nice as asphalt. So, you know, we need to look at that as a city. I think the other thing that is important is communication. Personally, I don't feel that we've had a city council that is out there talking to the community residents and listening. I heard one candidate actually say, if you have an issue, you need to bring it to city council. Well, by the time you bring it to city council, you can't get on the agenda. You might as well not even bring it up. You can do, you know, the public speaking in the beginning, but that doesn't do any good. I think we need council members that are out and communicating with the residents and allowing the residents to call them, maybe do office hours, maybe, you know, set up a time where it's not intrusive, but they can reach out. And I just think that's really important, and we don't have that. So, so those are some of the platforms, and obviously coming from the background, business is very important to me. And sustaining our businesses here in Ripon, you know, we've seen businesses kind of come and go, our small businesses, and especially now with COVID-19. I think that we need to do something to help them. The city has done a small grant. I think they're offering like $3,000 through an application process. But we need to bring in industry that will help sustain our current businesses. We have rooftops, but we need industry. I have a daughter that's a senior in high school, and I don't want her to go away to college and not be able to get back. You know, we have high cost living here. We don't have a lot of affordable housing that our kids can come back to. We don't have jobs that our kids can come back to. Even if they live here, they have to work somewhere else. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm bringing in big box stores. I'm against, I think small businesses is perfect for Ripon, but we need businesses that will help sustain other businesses. We need businesses here. We need, as residents, to be able to shop where we live, not go other places and shop, and keep our money local. I mean, I think that's important no matter where you live. But I also feel that people do business where they work, and that's unfortunate, you know. So if somebody's commuting, they're going to bank there, they're going to eat there, they're going to do, you know, shop there while they're at work, and then they're going to come home. And you know, we need to change that. We need those sales tax dollars, and we need to maximize them the best that we can.
Thank you, Tamra, for highlighting on your core pillars that you are, why you're running for as a council member for City of Ripon. And the first point you brought it was about the public safety, where you touched the law enforcement side. As your son is officer, thank you for he's serving in the I think in the Merced County, sorry, Turlock, Stanless County, right? And the other part you touched about on the hospital side. So those are both imperative points for any community to feel safe. So can you tell us a little bit more about on the hospital side? And you said there's ambulance services and the can you a little bit define on that topic a little bit more?
So we don't have a hospital here, but we, our ambulance service runs through our Ripon Consolidated Fire Department. And unless we find funding, unless we can staff Station 3, which maybe some people don't feel is needed, but we have, again, rooftops that have gone in. We have Cornerstone area. We have River Road that is going to eventually be a 6-lane expressway, and we have future development that is going out that way. It's very important that we have another station. We also do a lot of assists for other cities around us. So if our ambulance gets called out and something happens to somebody here in Ripon, then we have to call for another ambulance at a Manteca or something. We have an elderly population as a Bethany Home, which is what I think is the second largest employer here. But not only the elderly population, even myself, if I have a family member that needs help, I want to know that somebody's going to come help them. The fire station also does a lot of rescues. We have a river that a lot of people like to go down and things. So it's very important that we figure out a way to somehow fund them and make that happen. Now, Ripon Consolidated Fire is not part of the city. I do want to preference that. But we need them to collaborate, and we need them to, I guess, communicate and help each other and figure out how this can happen. So, and then the police department. I've been told that our police department a while back had lost some funding. And when times were bad, things got good, money came in, but those positions have never been filled. And, I think we need a fully staffed police department. So those are just some of the things on the public safety side.
Tamra, so please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I love your point of view. Since being in the Ripon, one of the things that we experience here is that we have the bottleneck on a 99, and it seems like the traffic is keep getting worse and worse as more Bay Area residents are moving to Valley in south of us from in a town like Modesto, and when that bottleneck happens, seems like the traffic is going through the downtown, through the Stockton Avenue and the 2nd Street and the Main Street and whatnot around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And I know there was some overpass work done with those lights that, were put in on an on-ramp there. But what is your vision or plan as far as improving that situation and possibly working with the state or Caltrans or whatnot to fix the issue of the bottlenecking on 99?
Yeah, so I sometimes find myself in that mess that comes in off West Ripon onto Main Street, and they changed the light timing to try to eliminate people from wanting to come in and go through downtown, to also change, I guess, ways, the mapping on there to detour people to not come into downtown because of the light timing switch. Now, with that said, I've also watched people try to rush through those lights. They get pulled over. It becomes a safety issue. And so that's something they need to look at. The only way that I can see our downtown being freed up and our roads is for Caltrans, for the city to work with Caltrans and the state to change, like you said, the bottlenecking on the freeway. because that's why people are coming and taking other routes to downtown. Now, I've been also told that that is going to start. That is a project that is starting soon. I don't have a date. I know they put in the metering lights to try to help with that bottlenecking, but as all it's doing is backing up people on our overpass going on to Main Street. And there's an area on Main and Stockton that now it's become, again, a safety issue because people are trying to cross over 2 lanes to get on the freeway, or they're trying to get up and over to get, and that's a mess. So, but as far as I've been told, that there is a project that's supposed to be starting to help alleviate some of that traffic on the freeway.
Well, to follow up on that, there's some, I don't know if it's a rumor or a fact that there's been some conversation about Austin Road exit on and off ramp being revamped or closed possibly. And as you know, on the back end of our town, people coming in and leaving, that is important for us. Otherwise, the 2 exits and enters off of a 99, the Jack Tone and the Main Street, will have to handle additional traffic.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking you is, if you're elected, I hope you are, and then obviously keep that in mind, and hopefully that can be delayed or actually improved instead of having to shut down.
Yeah, they are going to do the Austin Road project. I don't know when it is set to start, but we'll definitely need to figure out alternatives while that is being done, because I think it is going to be closed off. And I know a lot of people take Austin Road to come to the frontage roads and to come into town because of the traffic. Once you get off 120 and get onto 99, you sit. It's
right.
horrible. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like I said, I find myself in it once in a while. So, that's definitely a project and something that I think is a huge concern to a lot of people, because we have a lot of people that are commuters in our town.
Okay, thank you very much.
Staying with the traffic, one more. You mentioned something about 2nd Street and the Stockton Avenue there. It's kind of a combination leading into the Doak, combination of some industrial and some residential traffic there, and that road seems like with the heavy trucks going into some of that industrial part, that road takes a beating, and it definitely needs improvement and fixing. I love the fact that you're thinking that should be the priority, fixing our roads in Ripon. Thank you for that.
Yeah. You're welcome, and it is a priority, and especially over like in Ripon area, and like I said, Miljo and downtown. We have a lot of roads that definitely need to be looked at. So I heard one of the other candidates say it's like 26 miles or 24 miles worth of roads that need to be fixed at this point.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Tamra, for touching the transportation aspect. So another thing, as you mentioned, your daughter, she is almost ready for the journey to the college. So that's another thing that the kids are facing. They have to go far away, approximately 40 to 50 miles. They have to travel for the educational perspective. And whenever they go there, it's very rare they'll come back. They'll find the job opportunities there, they'll stay there. So what do you think from the educational aspect you can do to improve that situation?
Well, I think at least with Ripon, we have UOP that's not very far. We have Cal State Stanislaus that's in Turlock. So we have alternatives. But, I think the experience for kids to go away to college, and whether it's another state or Southern California or wherever, is important. But, there is a plan that the city's been talking about for 5 years that I don't know if it's ever going to happen, if it'll happen in my lifetime, but it's called the North Point Plan. And I think they're discussing bringing in a tech center and doing some commercial retail infrastructure, and then also some high density housing. I don't know when that will happen. Like I said, it's been on paper and it's been a plan for 5 years, but I would like to see that started. And I think having a tech center in Ripon is probably a great idea. But bringing in a university or a college, that's probably not going to happen. I think we're a little too small. I'd like to see it happen in Tracy though. So, yeah.
So an additional point on that.
So just to something to add.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Raj.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Gutierrez. No, please go ahead.
So,
you have a question in mind.
yeah,
Please
so
go
as
ahead.
you mentioned about the tech center, Tamra, you have a great expertise with the business aspect. So what incentives or what kinds of things can be done to bring maybe the small scale business to start with in Ripon?
Yeah, I know that it came up the other night. I think that for one thing, our development fees need to be probably restructured or relooked at. And talking to some of the businesses, it's been very difficult to do business there or start a business in Ripon. I think that incentives do need to be looked at. There has been a few that have been used, but I think they're, working with the county economic development to use some of the county incentives and we probably need to look at more. We need to look, like I said, at some industries and businesses that would be a great fit for Ripon, but we need to make it a little easier for people to do business here. Yeah.
To follow up to Gurtej, since I'm a business and specifically being a small business owner, which is a backbone of our, not only any economy, or the country in general, that's the one creates the more jobs. And you mentioned that there's a budget issues, that from beginning, from onset, and as you also mentioned that there is seems like it's difficult to bring a business to city of Ripon because of the fees and development fees and the way that it's structured. So I thank you for bringing that up, and we definitely need to look into that and restructure it. Do you feel that the current council or any the future that gets elected would be leaning towards that growth? Ripon has always been a farm town, so, and I'm sure there is going to be an opposition. How would you handle that potential growth versus being, having a farmland?
Well, again, I think out there on River Road, there on the east side, southeast side, I think it is that is all future development, and that's all commercial zoned. You have on River Road the new apartment complex that has gone in. You've got the new restaurant sitting right there. Again, that's supposed to be a 6-lane expressway eventually. They've been talking about business coming in on the corner, but I think that we need industry. We need businesses. Our downtown it's hard to get a building downtown. So the real estate aspect, it's always full, but we need the right businesses. We need people to go there and shop. And we don't have that. It's more of, we have Ripon Vet, which if you have an animal, then you're going to drive there. We have real estate shops. But we don't have additional restaurants, coffee shops. We just have a few. And so we need pedestrians. We need people to go downtown. And, so I think that with the future development, again, with the North Point plan, that got brought up a month or two ago at City Council to start looking at that. So maybe with that plan in place, we can start bringing in businesses. I think it's important. Yeah.
Well, with that, the issue will become of housing, right? If you have businesses come in, the growth come in, then people wants to live in this town. Is it housing wise? Where do you see the town going? Where that's going to be growth? Are you in the support of that growth as well?
Yeah.
Whatever that would be.
So I live in Ripon and I want to keep Ripon small. So
sure.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not about growth. I am about bringing in, like I said, the right businesses for the residents. But I think that the current growth that they've been growing is 2.5%, somewhere around there. And so I appreciate the controlled growth. We have added homes. We've added homes over by Mislin Park and out, like I said, the apartment buildings. Wilma or Fulton, I guess it is developed for some more homes. So we have rooftops, but now we need products and service. And, you know, again, to keep our sales tax here, so we're not driving other places to spend money. And I think there's definitely a need for certain retail, and we just need to be more specific about what we're bringing in and what we're looking for. Target those stores, and yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about it. But I like the controlled growth. I like knowing my neighbor. I don't want Ripon to get big to where, you know, we don't know each other, and all of a sudden we become like this little small commuter town. That's not what I want.
On a personal level, that was the attraction for me as well to move to Ripon. You know, I love the feeling of the small town. You know, less of the crime and less of a congestion. Even though we talked about a little bit of an issue out there in the Stockton Avenue, but thank you for your comment. Appreciate that. You know, now I'm going to be a platform of a six of Ripon, six of the Central Valley. Seems like their Sikh population is growing in the city of Ripon. And what is your you know, vision or thoughts of supporting the diversity? You know, Ripon is we have plenty of churches to worship in, and that's something that is, the Sikh community currently has to either drive to Manteca for Sikh temple or Modesto. If there is a thought, there's some conversation among community about a Sikh temple being built, would you, you know, would you support it to have that built? And what are your thoughts about a broad diversity and Sikhism and Sikh community in the Ripon?
Well, you know, I personally believe that everybody should be able to worship and have a religion that they believe in. I know that Ripon, I mean, they have a Catholic church, but I think it's way out on 120. We don't even have one here in Ripon. We have a lot of churches, though. Yes. So I think that is something, if, you know, you guys want to do it, and the Sikhs want to build a church and do that, then I believe in that. I believe that everybody should have a place to go to worship. And so why should Ripon be any different? You know, so that's something that if you guys are interested and you have the land to build it on, and it goes through planning, I mean, obviously, you know, I would never deny somebody to build a church.
You know, what are your thoughts on, you mentioned a little bit of police department. What are something that I love about having our local police officers allowed to take their vehicles home, and they're parked on the streets, and then all of a sudden it just seems like it does a psychological effect on the, you know, there's a police officers, and it's, you know, it's maybe that's the you know, keep your fingers crossed to keep the crime low. What is your thoughts on that as far as the continue to allowing the police officers that serves our city?
So I just had this conversation yesterday with one of the police officers, but I think it's good. I think it's a good benefit. I think it helps out neighborhoods to see a police officer's car parked there. It makes you feel safe. Not only do we have Ripon police officers, but we have police officers living in our town from all over. We have fire people, you know, fire department people that are living in our town. I see the fire department trucks coming from Manteca and Livermore and other places. I think we're fortunate enough to be able to allow our officers to do that. Our officers here in Ripon do not make a lot of money. And I think that's one of the benefits that they get living in a small town, and is to be able to take their vehicle home. So I do know that if they're not living in town, they don't get to do that. But if that's also came up in a conversation I had yesterday, that our officers have to live other places because Ripon is it's non-affordable. And that's sad too. I think we need to look at our wages and what we're paying, and, you know, we need to kind of keep up with surrounding cities, but the loyalty will be there. The turnover will be less, and it costs a lot of people a lot of money to train new officers. And if there's something that we can do to keep our officers for years, and then I think that we need to look at doing that. But to answer your question, and I probably rattled on a little bit, I think it's great that they get to take their cars home, because I think it works in more ways than one. Not only do they get to take their vehicle home, but it makes our neighborhoods look safe.
I agree. The only other part is that you seem like you're the only woman, I think, is being running for a council, and I think that currently there isn't one either. How does that, representing the women of our community, how does that feel? Can you touch a little bit about that? Talk about it.
It's been difficult running as a woman. I think we have some good old boy clubs, and it's always been that way. And I've had people say to me, you might get the women vote, but my response to that is, I am as qualified, if not more qualified, than a lot of those city council members. I have an educational background. I have a background in economic development. I have volunteered for years in this community, which most of them have not done. And, that is important to me. Even if I work in Tracy, that's my job. But when I'm here, I volunteer. I'm on the governing board for Doctors Hospital in Manteca. I've been serving for 2 years on Ripon Consolidated Fire Board. I am on the Ripon Community Fund and helping raise money for families in need. I served on Spring Creek Golf and Country Board for a full term. So I continue, I'm on Sober Grad because my daughter's a senior, so that board. But I continue to volunteer and to give what I can. And I've been continuing to do that. And I think if anybody was to ask any of those other candidates, there might be one or two that do that. The rest of them, they're not involved in our city. We have one current city councilman that's rerunning, but I think his comment was in the forum that he has little kids, and so he doesn't really get out to do anything. He, does the committees that the city council puts him on, but that's it. How do you get out and work with your constituents? How do you know what's going on in the city if you aren't involved? And so I think there's just a big lack of communication that's going on. So as a woman, I don't think that they really want me on council, to be honest. But I believe and that I can do a good job and that I can bring something to the council that it hasn't had. And I have nothing in it for myself. I am doing this to hopefully give the residents a voice and to, get things done that need to be done. I think they need a new perspective. So.
Well, thank you. I think I need to send my daughter to come talk to you to have that kind of confidence. We appreciate that you're running. The kids are in school, and I know that we are living in this 2020 has been challenging for all of us, our whole world, I should say. But, a little bit about on the COVID side, what's your thoughts about the kids going back to school? There's some up to certain grades that students are allowed to go back in live, and some are still online classes. What are the things that should be being done in the school so that this virus doesn't spread, but at the same time, our kids get to go to school and be around their friends, which is, that's something that they should be doing.
Yeah, and I can only speak because the city council really has nothing to do with that, but I can only speak as a mother. And my, I have concerns. I think when you put kids into a classroom all together, someone's going to end up sick. It doesn't matter if it's the flu, if it's a cold, they interchange and exchange things and bring them home. The teachers, there's a concern with the teachers for their own safety. I know they're worried about it, but I think if they do things right, and it's so important for socialization for these kids, not to be stuck in front of a computer, especially like when you're in elementary school and you're trying to restrain your child from wanting to play with the dog or looking at something else, they're not getting the education that they need sitting in front of a computer all day. If anything, as a parent, that's the last thing that we want, I mean, we used to go out and ride our bikes and do things outside. Our kids already are full of technology and trying to get them away from that. But when it comes to safety, and I know our schools are working on it, I know our teachers are working on it, it's a capacity issue, and it's, again, just trying to figure out a hybrid system that our kids can maybe go to school but be safe, social distance if needed at this time. And that's what the schools need to work on. We need to get our kids back. I will say that, but we need to do it in a safe manner. And that's a mother speaking. So.
Well, I think it's a very critical, not only for that aspect, and same thing with the businesses as well. We have to be responsible and be safe. Take the precautions, the PPEs, and this social distance and all that. I think those certain things could be done. Checking a temperature of the students, when they come in, and not allowing if they're coughing or whatnot to come in, attend the school that day. But it's same as opening up the businesses and get the economy going. So it's a happy balance, I think, that needs to be met. And so, like your view, that you're kind of looking at it both sides. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is like you said with the businesses, if we're all doing our part and doing the right thing, hopefully, because I would hate for everything to be shut down again. All of a sudden we're sending our kids to school, someone gets sick, and then the next thing you know, we have a large number of kids or families that are coming down with something, and then they close us down again. We don't want that either. So we have to do it right and slow and make sure that everybody's safe doing it.
So, Tamra, just to follow up on the COVID part, so as we have touched the schools, but you have great expertise with the small business, and you are seeing the greater impact on the small businesses.
Yeah.
So how do you see the future in this regard? Because this thing is being prolonged and they have to come back to their feet. So what, from the perspective of a city council, could be done in that aspect?
Yeah, I think it's so important for entrepreneurship. We need to keep it going. We need people to open up businesses. And brick and mortar. I mean, you get the different generations, and they might be entrepreneurs, but they're doing it all through technology, and that seems to be the way we're going is virtual platforms. But we need the brick and mortar, and we need, again, the small businesses. Through this COVID, I have seen big box stores just, they're doing great, and then you see these small businesses closing their doors. And so, someone asked me about big box stores in Ripon, and absolutely, I'm not for that. And like I said, I think if we brought something like that in here, it would put 10 stores out of business right away. Even though we definitely need to look at workforce, but if we can keep our small businesses open, they hire people, they hire kids. There's a training platform there, and that's really important. Getting our next generational leaders out there and introducing them to different industries and jobs that are in the workforce, and so they prepare for college and they know what they want to do. When I was at the Ripon Chamber, I started the youth leadership program. I started their nonprofit, and that, the youth are, again, something that's very important and we need to focus on. So, sorry, my cat was jumping into the screen.
Nope, that's totally fine. That's no problem. So I have the last question, but that's not the least. I heard you said there's a lack of communication, which kind of transform into bringing the transparency between the governmental body versus the residents. So if you get elected, what is your plan to make sure that there is a transparency there, and what kind of ideas and what kind of vision do you have?
Yeah, so one of them was, like I said, I think maybe the council members, they are their elected people, and so they should be accessible. I think maybe having a set time, whether it's through Zoom, whether it's through making a phone call, that there should be an opportunity to be able to call your elected officials. I know we live in a small town, and I know all our city council members, but I don't think other people do, and I don't think other people feel comfortable reaching out. Again, you should not tell someone if you have an issue, bring it to city council. We should know what those issues are prior to meeting, and it's one Tuesday a month, so it's not that big of a deal. But we need to know what the issues are. We need to be out in the community, and we need to be seen and heard and talking to people. And so for me, I would probably establish certain hours that people can reach me. I'm on social media. I think that's a great way to, sometimes I get dragged down a rabbit hole and sucked into conversations that, I get in trouble. But I think it's a good platform to communicate. I think people feel comfortable sitting behind a keyboard, sometimes too comfortable. But it's a way to reach out. And I think we need to be open to that. And I've had people say to me, because of COVID and how we're campaigning right now, that they hope it continues, because it is a way for people to reach us or reach the council members. And so I plan on keeping that open, but anybody, and that's what I even say now, is welcome to pick up the phone and call me. They're welcome to email me. I love having conversations. I love learning about new people. And I think, it's important to understand our residents, and not everybody feels the same. Not everybody has the same views, but at least you're learning and you're educating yourself on how people feel. I think that's important. So that's what I would do.
No, thank you very much, Tamra. I can attest to that. So reached out to you multiple times. You are always available to guide and mentor. So that's much appreciated, and that's what the leaders should be. So they should be approachable, and they have their own schedule, but they should be approachable for all the answers that the citizens need. So now I'll take it back to Raj to lead us further into the conversation.
And definitely something I would like to chime on to your statement, Tamara. Like you said, elected officials should be easy to work with for our resident. They shouldn't be afraid of reaching out to them. They shouldn't feel hesitant that it's a big deal to talk to them, because they are there because of the residents' votes. They are there for them. So they are answerable for them. They are working for them. They're whenever they need, the resident need, they should make themselves clear and available. So if that's what you're providing, so I think that's a very good thing, and it's such a great thing for a city of Ripon that's a personality like you is living there and you have that kind of mindset. So that being said, I just want to open up back to Suki and to you. If we missed anything to address or ask you, please go ahead and say those things or share those things with the audience.
I think that all I can more than lastly say is that, thank you for joining us and having an open mind to join this platform for the six. That speaks a volume itself, that you have felt important to be on this platform to be our guest, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. I think she covered a lot of variety of topics, so I don't have any further. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in town. Take a walk early in the morning, and maybe I'll run into you one of these days.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Suki. So in the end, so Tamra, if we just ask you to please briefly share with the audience, share with the voters of the city of Ripon, so how they will remember you and why they will come out to vote for you in November 3rd.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think that right now our city council needs a new perspective. And I think, again, my education, my background, and working with businesses, and I've had the privilege of working with our city staff already in different events that I've done and while working at the chamber. And I've also brought a lot of things to Ripon. I, started, like I said, the Youth Academy, but I also brought our Christmas light parade. Right now they're doing the Scarecrow Fest. There's been a lot of things that I love, family community events that I started while I was at the chamber. And I think those events are important. I did 4th of July here for 3 years, and then when I left, it stopped. And so we need to look at some of those things so our residents don't have to go out of town to go to 4th of July. They can stay home and enjoy it. But again, it's just a different perspective, and my heart's in it. I love volunteering. I love our city that we live in, and I raised my family here, and we're here, and this is what we call home. So please, when you go out on November 3rd to vote, I hope that you think of Tamra Spade and that you vote for me.
Thank you, Tamra. And the last, if anybody would like to reach out to you, would you like to give your contact information, your phone number, or your email address, what kind of method they can use to contact you?
Yes, I do have a website, and you can go to Spade, the number 4, Ripon.com, or you can always email me, and that's Tamra, Tamra, at Spade4Ripon.com. And if you want to call me, my phone is open, so please call me 209-620-6859. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Tamra.
Thank you so much, Tamra. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so before we end,
go ahead, Gutesh. We both were talking over each other.
Yeah, and I was saying, before we end, so I would request our voters, so you should have the follow-up questions. So as Tamra has mentioned, so there are many ways she can be reached. So please clarify your questions and make an informed decision for November 3rd. Thanks all.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.